currently flexing for Seconds Out with welterweight contender Sajid Abid. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Awesome.
How are you getting on in lockdown? I know you were busy earlier looking after one of your younger siblings.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear him in the background, but
I
he's causing a
can.
bit of chaos. But yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, I still go to work 9 till 5. Still train after. So in all fairness, I mean,
Tell us a little bit about what you do for a living.
okay. So I work in a surgery, local surgery. So as you can imagine, we're pretty busy with what's happening right now. I do prescription medication, so I liaise with pharmacists, hospitals, nursing homes, patients themselves. So yeah, like I said, considering everything that's going on, it's been really busy lately.
How did you get into that sort of job?
It's funny you ask. So my cousin who currently trains me, he's actually a doctor, and so at the time when we started off together, I didn't have any. I wasn't working, and then out of nowhere, he kind of offered me a place in his surgery, and we're talking about it's coming up to 2 years now, and well, I've been there ever since, really.
Brilliant. And you say he's a doctor. What's he doing at the moment? Is he kind of involved on the front line?
Yeah, he's constantly on the go, as you can imagine. He's I don't know how to explain it. He's just always working.
And how are you? Did you have to get kind of qualifications to do what you're doing now? And what's the kind of what will you move up to later on? What's the career progression for that?
To be honest, it's kind of there's not much progression in it at the moment. I know they've spoke to me about putting me on courses to obviously get further on in that role, but at the moment I'm stuck at where I am. The whole idea was that it's a flexible job where I can, at any given opportunity I can focus on my boxing. Like, for example, last year I had the opportunity to fight in Saudi Arabia, but it kind of got sprung to me right in the last minute. And, considering that I'm working for my cousin, even though I had to pull a few strings, it did work in my favor. So I could just kind of take however many days I needed and just, well, fly off, really.
So your cousin's your boss and your trainer.
Pretty much, I can't get away from it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Tell us about the experience of fighting in Saudi Arabia. I know the fight itself didn't go your way, but it must have been pretty amazing to go and compete out in Jeddah.
Yeah, if you think about it, like, I spent majority of my boxing career having to work 9 till 5, sell tickets, do a lot of running around. So actually going to somewhere like Saudi Arabia and fighting in front of that many people and just the whole concept of it is amazing. I actually felt like, how I imagined professional boxing to be at an early age. So it was brilliant. I didn't have to worry about anything, just boxing, and I couldn't wish for anything more.
Went up against a big punching Venezuelan who had a lot more amateur experience than you as well.
Yeah,
In hindsight, do you think you were matched pretty tough?
yeah, 100%. But with boxing, if you don't take these kind of opportunities, then you could possibly miss out on something to catapult your career. So it was ultimately a no brainer for me anyway. Don't get me wrong. We went in there thinking, all right, cool. This is definitely a step above what we're normally used to. But like I said, unless we take these opportunities, you never know what's going to happen. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he had more amateur experience than me, but all it was is I got caught with a big punch. That's just boxing in a nutshell. All it comes down to is one punch sometimes. I outboxed in the first round, lost concentration for a split second, bang, I'm out cold.
And I was reading somewhere that you, the disparity between the amount of weight you both put on after the weigh-in has kind of planted the seed in your head to perhaps move down to super lightweight.
Yeah, 100%. Like, how can I put it? So I was pretty much on weight throughout the whole 4 weeks of camp there. So it was my first day before weigh-in, so I didn't really know the whole process of what to do. I'm there thinking, all right, cool. I got onto the weighing scale with like 66.9 kg, like bang on pretty much. He got onto it at I think 66.4 or 5 or something along those lines. So there's me thinking like, listen, I'm going to fuel up and just come into the fight massive. Complete opposite. I barely put any weight on.
Yes, that's interesting. I mean, in previous fights, looking at BoxRec, you've been down as low as 144. There's only £4. I say only. It's obviously harder. It's easy for me to say, but £4 above the super lightweight limit. So with your frame as well, you're what, 5'10". Do you feel you'd be more effective down at super light?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'd definitely be one of the bigger fighters there. You know, I'd be stronger. I mean, I say that, but you won't know until we actually get into that predicament. But that's what we're trying. I mean, I'm using all of this isolation period to try get down to weight as close to 140 as possible, without, how can I put it, without completely overdoing myself. You know how most boxers coming on to 2 weeks before a fight, whack on a sweatsuit, jump in the sauna, and just try sweat out all the weight as soon as they can, or as close to the fight as they can. I don't want to go through that period. I just want to lose the weight as healthy and as I'd say slowly as possible. I mean, considering the time we have now.
Tell us a little bit about how you first got into the sport, because as we've alluded to, you didn't have a long amateur career.
So I was introduced into boxing at a young age, like 12. My uncle got me into it. But it was on and off, just once a week here and there, just to get me into it. Like I was heavily asthmatic, so even though I enjoyed my sport, I couldn't do much of it because I was running out of breath. As it seems. But so my uncle took me into boxing, and ever since then it's literally just been on and off. I took it a bit more serious at the age of 17. If I remember right, I had my first amateur fight at 18, or coming on to the back end of my at age 17. So when that happened, I spoke to my uncle saying, look, what are we going to do next? He said, look, I want you to turn pro. I'm like, okay, cool, fine. At that point, I didn't know much about boxing. So I just went on to whatever he wanted me to do. If I remember right, I turned pro at either 20 or 21. And then, I'm here now.
How many amateur fights had you had?
One amateur fight.
Wow. That's a big step.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. If I could go back and, have more amateur fights, I would do. But there's no point crying over spilled milk now.
And your uncle, you mentioned, is that Asgi?
Yeah, Asgi.
Asgi's obviously, for people out there that don't know, has worked closely with Ben Davison, for example, alongside Tyson Fury, Billy Joe Saunders. Has that experience that he's had and the people that he works with, has that benefited you at all?
Yeah, 100%. Asgi's a great trainer. The only reason why I'm not training with him now is because it's just difficult to get it around my work times. Because like I said, I still work 9 till 5, and it's hard to commit to his times. But with the experience that he's had, and obviously brought to my training, I couldn't complain. He's amazing.
Have you had the opportunity to meet any of his lads like Fury or Saunders?
Yeah, Tyson Fury used to come down to Derby to train when I was training with Asgi. Also, Tommy Fury, met him a few times. Actually, whooped his backside at table tennis a few times as well, so that was pretty fun.
Right. That's the headline now. We'll just leave the table tennis bit out. Just I've whooped Tommy Fury's backside.
Yeah, mate, imagine that.
Yeah, you're getting a knock on the door. What's the plan for the future once boxing resumes and all this is a hopefully distant memory? What's the plan? Are you going to kind of build up from kind of area level onwards, or keep traveling the world? What do you want to get out of boxing?
So originally, we planned on having a area title fight at the end of this year. As you can imagine, right, is it going to happen anytime soon? Because my last fight was my last 4-rounder. I'm stepping up in rounds, obviously going down in weight. So it's a bit difficult to say. I mean, obviously the first fight coming back is going to be, just get all the rust back out, as I can imagine the case of all the boxers out there. But I think we may have to push that whole area title thing a bit further. Let's say end of next year now. I mean, considering everything that's happened. Don't get me wrong, I'm still in contact with a lot of people I've met from Saudi. So at any given opportunity where they say, look, we want you to fight here, I'm more than happy to do that.
Who would you say so far have been kind of the biggest influences either on your career or on your style?
So there's a few people, to be honest. Like obviously my cousin Ifran, my uncle Asgi, Kevin and Steve. my management team, and just my family. They've always been there to support me. Kevin, whenever he can, he always helps me out. Wherever I'm going wrong. Considering he's based down in Leighton Buzzard and I'm here in Derby, he always takes the time out to give me a call, drop me a message, just see how I'm going. So, these are the people who have been influential in my career.
And what about kind of boxing idols or people you watch now on YouTube and try and kind of implement some of their stuff into your own game?
To be honest, I've always been a fan of Roy Jones Jr. and Lomachenko. Lomachenko mainly because when it comes to boxing IQ, he's up there with the best. You see how he takes his time breaking down fighters, and he's on a different level to most of them. And obviously Roy Jones Jr., I don't really need to explain considering how good he used to be.
Brilliant. Well, one last thing before we let you go. People out there who enjoy this interview and want to get to know you a bit better, how can they find you on social media? What are your different handles?
Yeah, so obviously Facebook, Sajid Abid. My Instagram is Team Abid, and Twitter, it's Sajid_Abid. I don't use Twitter often, so you're better off sticking to Instagram and Facebook.
Brilliant. Well, really appreciate your time, and
look
forward to seeing you in the ring when boxing eventually comes back.
Yeah, hopefully, mate. Thank you.
All right, take care. Cheers, mate.
All right, take care, buddy. Thanks, bye.